are there any businesses or industries that you see that's going to be, what's the word I'm trying to use for? Maybe I'm not saying going out of business, but it's not doing as well as others that you think, you know, a good another option to prospect. I guess that's what.
Hmm. I don't really know. I mean, I would tend not to want to chase businesses that are not doing well because they're harder to sell. I mean, buyers are looking for cash flow. So they want to work with businesses that are doing well, that are profitable. And you've got an entire baby boomer generation that is trying to retire. So, or a lot of which are trying to retire over the coming years. So I think there are a number of businesses that are doing very well, that are very profitable. And if you can get a hold of those are going to be a lot easier to sell than something that's upside down.
Okay. So scratch that. Just a thought.
If I can just jump in, if I may, I think about this a lot, and how industries change and so on. I do think that with with a lot of the changes of AI and so on, a lot of the professional services are really getting hit a lot, and things like that. So I try to think about, where things might be, in a few years, kind of going forward. That maybe that doesn't impact restaurants or smaller businesses in that way, but like if the whole key of their business is trying to compete on scale, but they don't have the funding for it, I tend to try and shy away from those things, or anything, in my personal opinion, that has really heavy regulatory, or even when you're talking about the dispensary, I was thinking, can anyone just buy that? Or you've got, a more select, number of buyers. So I guess that's not very articulate, but, I mean, there's obviously, if you take a step back and think about where the economy is going, and where people are buying it, you kind of want to think about what are the businesses that are going to be great in 3 years from now or 4 years from now, not the ones that were great 2 years ago and someone's going to try and turn it around. That's just my humble opinion. But yeah.
Oh, you're spot on, because I can remember getting phone calls from video stores back in 2000, what, probably 9 and 10, where, they wanted to sell their video stores. It was like, nobody's buying a video store. Videotapes are gone. Netflix is here. Streaming is here. Well, I think streaming wasn't as prevalent back then yet, but Netflix certainly was. And they would send you the DVDs and then you mail it back to them or whatever at the time. But it was DVDs and what, Blu-ray discs, I guess, and a few different things, but it wasn't VHS anymore. it wasn't videotape. So video stores, it was a dying industry, and they just weren't saleable. So we wouldn't take them on because there was no way to sell them. And when you do take on businesses that are in an industry that's dying and they're not profitable, or they're barely profitable, buyers looking at that and looking at the future of it, there is no future in that business, right? So buyers are going to buy a business because they believe it has potential. This is something I always have to explain to sellers too, is that they always want to be paid for the potential. Oh, this business has great potential. It just needs fresh blood and fresh energy and blah, 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 but it's got such potential. And it's like, yeah, but a buyer is not going to pay you for the work that they have to do. But if the business doesn't have any potential to begin with, a buyer's not going to buy it, period. They're going to move on to something else. So yeah, I think it's interesting to me, AI, because I think it presents so many opportunities. There's a lot of people that say, oh yeah, it's going to replace workers, it's going to replace this and replace that. And it's like, it creates so many opportunities for people. Look at your copywriters. And they're saying, oh, well, you can go to ChatGPT and they can write all your content for you. Well, that's true for those people who want to do that and take the time to do that. But there's still people out there that maybe they're copywriters for a living. That's what they do. for them, it's like using a nail gun to hammer a nail, right? Because they can get a whole lot more work done much faster for their clients. And so they can expand their client base. They can get a lot more done. They can actually make a lot more money. They can scale. So I don't know. I think everything is just on how you look at it. And AI to me just presents tremendous opportunities for all kinds of people. I think it's a wonderful thing, but that's just me.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, it's here to stay, and it's going fast. So you got to embrace it. Either you embrace it or you're left behind in some capacity. Your competitors are using it, you're not using it. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
absolutely.
use it every day now.
Yep.